before he gets really mad at me, Michael Snyder, who is all about movies, and I have been so excited to talk to you about the new Avatar movie. So, first of all, how you doing?
I am good. Happy to be here. I'm not that worried about the time restraints because,
Okay, good.
like Avatar, this could be a 3-hour segment. You never know. Hey, listen,
It is long, right? Like,
it
is
is
it way too long?
way too long. Listen,
Oh,
I got to first say happy holidays to everybody. And I am so caught up in the holiday spirit, and so are so many others. For instance, I walked into a restaurant last night, and there was a lovely little Christmas tree sitting at the hostess station. And right next to it was a sign that read, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone." And I'm thinking, what, even Santa or Jesus? I mean, that is harsh. So much for the Christmas joy and the joy of giving. But we really should get down to it because this is a mighty long film, and I guess the review won't be anywhere near as comparable, but there are twists and turns. So let me get to it. After far too many years, screenwriter-director James Cameron has finally delivered his sequel and make that his first of at least a few sequels to his massive 2009 blockbuster movie, Avatar. Avatar, The Way of Water is here. Ta-da! Well, it's a technical marvel, creating a massive alien environment and characters using state-of-the-art motion capture tech on the actors and computer animation everywhere else. For all its visual glory and eventual action, because it does pick up, its narrative faults are nagging as it starts into its 3-hour and 12-minute run. Yeah, Kim, you heard me. 192 minutes. Yikes. Anyway.
Of blue people, right? Is it
Yeah,
still blue
well,
people?
among other things. Initially,
Okay.
this animated splendor feels overblown and bloated, I have to tell you. Bloated like a body that's been immersed in water too long. And of course, it's called The Way of Water, so maybe that makes sense. But in any case, unless you saw and remember the first Avatar movie from over a dozen years ago, you're lost here. And if you never saw it, you're even more lost because the premise and backstory are not clearly recounted at the start of this new movie. So, I mean, do they expect us all to have gone to this re-release a couple of weeks ago so we're kind of boned up on Avatar? I don't know. But I have to say the shorthand approach that Cameron takes doesn't cut it. That's a major flaw, because the script and the action of the first 90 minutes are a little muddled or just gratuitous eye candy. And, I like that to an extent, but 90 minutes. Anyway, they needed to clearly reestablish what we all ought to know. Humans have traveled in space and are mining a lush, unspoiled planet named Pandora for the rare element unobtainium. That's right. It's a name out of an old Uncle Scrooge comic, where the duck is searching for some super valuable metal. We've got to get the unobtainium. Anyway, so the humans are at war with the Na'vi, the tall blue alien natives of the planet. And to be more effective in their efforts, Earth scientists grow cloned Na'vi bodies and download the brains of the human Marines into the big blue clones to kind of infiltrate. But Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington in the first movie and here, a Marine whose brain is encoded into a clone, falls for a Na'vi woman named, I think, Neytiri, and she's played by Zoe Saldana. And our boy Jake goes native, turning on his buddies. That's right. He basically turns on his buddies in the Space Force, and he basically helps the Na'vi drive off the interlopers. Okay, in the new movie, humans are back to invade Pandora a decade later, still looking to obtain that darned unobtainium with the Na'vi clone Marine Force. Their shock troops looking for Jake the traitor, who now has a whole Na'vi family, including an adopted daughter that somehow, okay, pay attention here, somehow the adopted daughter is the child of the human scientist played by Sigourney Weaver in both movies, and she's now a clone in a tube, I think. Anyway, the Marines drive Sully's family from their Pandora forest home, which looks like the cover of a Yes album painted by Roger Dean, and they take up with a seafaring Na'vi tribe led by a blue Cliff Curtis and a blue Kate Winslet. Right. Kate Winslet reunited with her Titanic boss, Cameron, because I guess, I don't know, water in both films. Anyway, if you make it through the first 90 minutes, this actually becomes a pretty thrilling action film, especially,
Really?
if you like video games with, cool oceanic creatures and air to sea
Yeah.
battles and aliens on flying and swimming steeds. It's kind of like the movie equivalent of those high end rides at Disneyland that required an e-ticket, only the ride lasts 3 hours. Look,
Right.
I appreciate Cameron's obvious stances against despoiling the environment and preserving native cultures. Yeah, but anyway, there are at least 2 or 3 more Avatar movies to come, and there won't be as long a wait between them as between the first and second, and there might even be better scripts, but unlike a submerged Na'vi, I won't be holding my breath, Kim.
But this movie cost a hell of a lot to make, and they're hoping for a huge release. I mean, what they're banking on is pretty amazing. What happens if they don't recoup that money?
He continues plowing forward. Someone told me, and this could be specious, that they have to earn $2 billion to break even. Maybe that's counting the other movie I think he already shot, Avatar 3, The Way of the Dirt. I have no idea what that, I don't know. But,
The Way of the Dirt. Oh, man.
Anyway, hey, and there's other like talented people here. Edie Falco plays a Marine officer. You barely recognize her. Michelle Yeoh is in this thing, I think. I blinked. Maybe I missed her. Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords has a visible role in this thing. And the Na'vi are kind of like Maori when they go to war. They start sticking their tongues out and stomping and what have you.
Right.
There are visual delights here, but good God, seriously, if you already know what the story's about, go in 90 minutes in and enjoy the last hour and a half. Oh, boy, it's great.
Okay, that movie makes me tired just thinking about sitting through it. All the stuff, all the things, and the plot twists. So you also saw Bardot?
Yeah, although there are some who would deride Bardot, which has a much longer title, which I will get to. It's the latest movie from multiple Oscar-winning director and screenwriter Alejandro G. Inarritu. And they're going to call it self-indulgent, but I was caught up in this surreal depiction of the inner life and outer truths of Silverio, an acclaimed Mexican journalist and documentary filmmaker who was based in Los Angeles with his wife and kids. Okay, I mean, the full title is a bit much. Are you ready? Bardot, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. But again, I was caught up in it. And if you don't know, Inarritu, even if you do, Inarritu is the guy who made Birdman and The Revenant, among other really good films. But this is nowhere near as commercial as those two. Bardot is a much more personal movie. It's kind of like Inarritu doing his take on Fellini's 8.5, where he basically incorporates autobiographical perspectives in a kind of opulent, almost near fantasy world. Okay. Anyway, so on the verge of Silverio receiving an international award, he's moved to return to Mexico and re-examine his life. And as this happens, there are dream sequences, satirical looks at the exploitive tabloid-style nature of some TV talk shows. There are burlesques of Mexican history, meditations on home, fame, family, love, friendship, and identity, strange landscapes, chaotic party sequences, much more, all depicted with dazzling cinematography. Is it too much? Maybe for some, but like I said, I was caught up in it. And you could decide for yourself if you want. Bardot is in theaters, but it also debuts on Netflix today.
We're dinging opulent. There's probably other ding words in there, but I don't know.
Leave it to that fussy Mark Thompson next week.
Well, he took the dinger, first of all. So,
how dare he?
How dare he? How dare you? Yeah, he took so now I have to, ding with my own ding. So I'll ding opulent.
Okay.
We'll give you that one.
All right.
So what's next on the list?
Oh, I have a third movie I wanted to talk about specifically because we like to talk about family entertainment around the holidays. Yes, it was great. Like, for instance, you could now watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio on Netflix, and it is truly one of the best films of the year. It's beautiful. And it's also very moving and dark, like the original story. But we have a new animated movie that's coming out next week, and I'm going to jump the gun a bit for you and your kids so you can prep yourselves. It's called Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And
Okay.
it is the latest in the spin-off featuring Antonio Banderas as the lovable sword-wielding booted cat, Puss in Boots, the spin-off from the Shrek films. And I've enjoyed the Puss in Boots movies much more than the Shrek movies. And I think they basically hold up better because Shrek was so topical in its jokes and so jammed with like one-liners that it kind of flattens out after the first viewing, whereas this does not. So our swashbuckling feline is back here after, I guess, almost 10 years away, and he is facing the greatest challenge he's ever faced. He's down to his 9th life. And he's being pursued by a killer wolf who wants the reward for Puss in Boots, the outlaw, dead or alive, and he's cool with dead. So Puss goes into hiding, and he ends up with a cat lady who basically keeps him prisoner till his little chinny chin chin is like a beard. And finally, he's sprung and reunites with his lady love. I guess Kitty Softpaws, is that her name? I think it's just such a crazy name, and it is as ever a cool little team up because Kitty's voiced by Salma Hayek. So you've got Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek doing that sort of bantering, antagonistic love dance, and then you have him being pursued by this vicious wolf. And Goldilocks and the Three Bears are also in the hunt because they want to get their hands on a wishing star that's fallen to Earth. And to get to it, they have to go through monumental obstacles and fight off one another. And if Puss gets it, he can wish for more lives. And he's, kind of being selfish in that regard. But right. I was thoroughly entertained. The voices of the bears, I loved it. The voices of the bears, it's got some clever stuff for adults, but it's just charming. Olivia Colman is Mama Bear.
Okay.
And this is so great. And Ray Winstone is Papa Bear. And Goldilocks is voiced by Florence Pugh. And so you have all of that going on. And then there's a little dog that is Puss's companion, voiced by Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows. I would give this thing really high marks. Director Joel Crawford basically did a great job, as did writer Paul Fisher. I had fun, and I hope everybody else who likes this sort of thing checks into it because I don't think they'll be disappointed.
So that's Puss in Boots?
Yep, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. It opens on Wednesday.
In theaters, but not streaming?
No, not streaming yet. It's a theater opening, but it's wide theaters and, wear your mask and whatever. But okay. I think when it gets to streaming, if you want to wait to that point, you're going to enjoy the hell out of it at home. I think it's going to have a good half-life. It's the sort of thing maybe people are going to be able to watch more than once because it's just fun, absolute fun.
So I did this story earlier about the new Barbie movie that stars Margot Robbie as Barbie and Ken, that is Ryan Gosling. And people are saying they can't wait to see you review this one, but I'm not sure when it's coming out. It hits theaters July 21st, so it'll be
Ryan Gosling. So it's like Baba Barbie, a little La La Land. I don't know. It's directed by Greta Gerwig, who's made some really interesting things, and she's the companion or a longtime collaborator. With God, what's the guy's name? He's made a whole boatload of. That's not important. What's important is that Noah Baumbach. That's right. He has a new film coming out and available on Netflix next week called White Noise. We'll talk about it next week. But I trust Greta Gerwig. But it seems, venal. It seems like conniving. All right, we're going to use the brand and we're going to bring it to movies and we're going to sell more dolls. I don't know what their sensibility here is, but I would bet you that Greta Gerwig had and doted on a Barbie while growing up. I'm just making a stab in the dark here.
Have you seen yet what Jim Avila and Michael Schur were talking about, which is the documentary on Nancy Pelosi?
I have not. And as a matter of fact, that was listening to this segment earlier. That's the first time that I have even heard about it. And I'm pretty plugged in. But it sounds really exciting and interesting. Yeah. And giving us insights into the speaker. I would love to check it out. By the way, speaking of exciting things. And jumping over to television, did you watch The White Lotus over the course of its 2 series?
Okay, see, I haven't watched it. It's on my list. I only recently acquired HBO Max because finally I got tired of never having seen Game of Thrones. So I'm in the middle of Game of Thrones and I haven't started White Lotus yet.
I won't do any spoilers, but the second
It's
season
okay.
is incredibly satisfying. The White
Okay,
Lotus is ostensibly a chain of resort hotels, and the brilliant Mike White, who also you would possibly know as the writer and creator of School of Rock,
right.
he came up with this thing that follows the adventures of a bunch of wealthy and privileged people that come to White Lotus locations. The first one set in the tropics of the Pacific, and this most recent one shifting focus to Sicily. And man, it was incredibly satisfying and very addictive, and held back week to week because of the HBO connection. But if you haven't caught up to series 2 and you like the first White Lotus, I can't endorse this enough. I loved it.
Anything else you're watching on streaming on TV?
Well, like I said last week, I'm loving Wednesday, which is the Addams
Okay,
Family spinoff. And I do want to point out that girls dressed as Wednesday Addams and dancing the Wednesday Addams dance to the Goo Goo Muck by the Cramps has been throttling social media. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You cannot
right.
escape girls dressed up as Wednesday Addams and doing this dance, or not even dressed up as Wednesday Addams, but just dancing their little tuchuses off. It is hilarious. And talk about something getting into the zeitgeist. If you haven't watched Wednesday, it's thoroughly entertaining, and Jenna Ortega is great. But I'm just repeating what I said last week about that.
Okay, so to recap, I'm going to say you liked Avatar: Way of Water. Long, but
I half liked it. I think it's very flawed, and it gets tedious for the first 90 minutes.
so you didn't hate it. You half liked it.
I half liked it. Yeah.
That's like a kind of thumbs medium, right?
But yeah, it's like that hand flapping back and forth in front of you.
Bardo, how'd you feel about that one? You liked
I
it?
liked it. I did like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I don't know that everyone else will. I'm being kind of maybe a contrarian.
And you really enjoyed Puss in Boots.
Immensely.
I'm shocked by this, but okay.
Hey,
I mean,
come on. I'm not a Grinch. I'm not a Grinch.
it seems like one of those movies I have to sit through just because I have kids. But I'm glad to know that you liked it because I will approach it now with more excitement.
I think you'll be charmed, Kim. And speaking of charmed, how about the charmed life of one Brock Purdy? If I sound extra happy
Oh,
today,
49ers. Where's Albert?
I don't know, but the commissioner would probably agree with me. The 49ers are on a bit of a roll, and this kid is turning into one of the best sports stories of the year.
Cinderella story, Mr. Irrelevant. It's movie like. You should know that, Michael.
I agree with you, Albert. I'm looking forward to what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic. I love my team, and go Niners. And I'm sorry to hear about Steph Curry's injury, but I do not give up on my teams. Win or lose, go Dubs.
Well, that's a Steph Curry shoulder injury, right?
Yeah.
Apparently the Warriors are in trouble after that.
It ain't going to be an easy road, but we'll see if he comes back quick enough to save the season. But in the meantime, always a pleasure, Kim and Albert.
Yep. Go 49ers. Thank you, Michael Snyder. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
I love doing it, guys. Have a great weekend.
See you next Friday. You too.